guys, welcome back to the Lost Generation podcast. Today is our 8th episode, and we're going to talk about double standards, the ones that are pretty noticeable here in Vietnam, and also the ones that are not as popular. We'll also discuss what is double standards, why do we have double standards, and Ming is pulling out another cigarette,
Yeah.
as you can see,
Yeah,
as you can hear.
That's a sign that we're getting started.
Yeah.
So, what first comes to your mind when you think about double standard?
Firstly, from my own experience, I think mostly double standards happens during the interaction between male and female, either in dates or just like relationship in general. And I think like we're gonna talk a little bit more about like the generalizations of double standards. I think you guys also kind of experience or maybe have seen those type of double standards, right?
Personally, I experienced that a lot, and I think Hook feels the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just start with the really simple ones. Like for a girl or woman, if we go out without makeup or getting ready,
okay.
it's considered as we're not taking care of ourselves. Whereas for men, it's okay for you to just go out with your tank tops and your shorts.
Right. Okay. So it comes down to the appearance as
Yeah.
well, right? The judgment of appearances. Okay. Yeah, in dates, I think a lot of women when they comes out the house, like they look fabulous, right? And sometimes sure, like the man just kind of not really well dressed. Okay, interesting.
I think it also came down to like the very daily basis activities that we do. For example, we just go out for like 5 minutes to buy something. We have to put on like proper clothing. We
Yeah.
cannot just wear our pajama out on
Right.
the street. Yeah.
Yeah, like in a way, when women do that, like maybe some people would think, okay, so she's kind of lazy. And even the boyfriend as well, even though the boyfriend, like himself, doesn't really that
Yeah.
well dressed, right? Which is to
Yeah.
me, I find it quite interesting because I'm a guy, and I don't know, like I think like I care about my appearances when going out, so I also kind of agree with that. Yeah. So from the guy's perspective, and this one I think like will get a lot of hate, or maybe this is just too like mundane. But maybe we're gonna talk a little bit about the tipping, on first date.
Okay.
Yeah, like here in Vietnam, I think a lot of relationship at the moment we are sharing money together, right? Either to go hang out in the cinema or go out for dinner. For some women, I think like they have expectation that the guy should be the one that pays. And I know that it's a bit like, do we have to talk about this, I guess? But it's also like a bit of a double standard in itself. To me, I'm fine paying for a date for a few times. And it's fine, it's like a part of a relationship. But I also expect the woman to do the same, not just like only me, because like at the moment I don't have a lot of money. So, it comes down to like respecting each other, and a lot of people seems to not really notice that.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that, especially at our stage in life, that we would be okay with like sharing money on a date because we're all like not really making a lot of money.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and also like I feel like that is one of those double standard that's been improved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's improved for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of dates and relationship, I think this one is pretty interesting. When a woman has a guy friend and she hangs out with him a lot, and she may have physical,
Right.
physical,
Interaction.
physical interaction with him, it's okay, and she expects that her boyfriend, her partner, feels the same way. But
If men have female friends,
if
and
men
then
have
okay,
female friends and do the same thing, then it's
yeah, it's like all hell. Yeah, it's like Dante's kind
so
of thing.
that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
No, yeah. Like when you mention it, yeah, it's really interesting because I don't know. It's like again, it's around the expectation of men. It's like they are gonna cheat, in a way. There is like no friendship relationship between a man and a woman.
Yeah.
And to me, I think it's also double standard. Yeah.
And going back to the daily activities, Thương, do you get catcalled a lot when you go on the streets?
Yeah, that happened like
Really?
almost on a daily basis.
Yeah, daily
Really?
activities.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think those are like their daily activities or something. They just sit there and be like,
How did they like catcall you though?
I don't know because like I live in like an apartment building,
Okay.
and then under the building is like a lot of restaurant.
Ah.
So there are a lot of guys serving there, and they just sometimes they get like free time, so they just sit in the back of the restaurant, and then I walk past that area to go up to my house,
Yeah.
and then they would be like teasing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's teasing more than catcalling, right? It's like, oh, she looks pretty, right? Catcall is more like.
Yeah, but like
No, it's still the same thing. Yeah, I know, but it's like, okay, interesting.
It's just a little bit uncomfortable for us because, like,
No,
in
and
a way,
it's a
we
bit-
don't know them.
Yeah, and I think like it's just kind of, it's just so random in a way.
yeah.
You know, it's just like you get annoyed.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, it's like,
Get
why the fuck are you doing that,
annoyed,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
Like,
interesting.
I remember when I was in middle school,
Right.
and there was this truck driver. He drives by like every afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah. and
Middle school as well.
Yeah, middle school. I was just on my way, casually walking to my grandparents' place.
Right.
And he was just always sitting there in the tada.
Right.
And he was like,
What did he
"Hey,
say?
where are you going?
Oh.
Looking good today."
Did he say that?
He said that,
He
and
said
I
that
was
to
wearing
you.
my pajamas, and I was like, "What
Like-
the fuck are you talking about?"
To me, as a guy, I have never really witnessed that, or maybe like the group, the circle that I hang around with, like they never do that. But yeah, I can totally agree that, okay, sure, like catcalling and the way that people kind of treat women here in Vietnam is it's not really good.
How does that go back to double standard though?
I think like it relates to double standard because it is also kind of revolves around the perception of a certain thing. For women, for example, like you have to kind of have a certain roles or a certain signs.
I think what makes it double standard is that it's okay for men to do that, and they
Oh, yeah.
kind of say that, oh well, she's there, I gotta do it. She's asking for it with the way she dresses and the way she walks.
Yeah.
But you don't really see women doing that.
Yeah, I've actually never seen women doing that.
Yeah. And
Women
it's-
catcalling or what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
women catcalling men. Have you seen that?
I saw comments basically. A guy who is kind of hot, I think.
Oh,
And they say
yeah.
like,
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
god, like I want to kind of fucking drop my ovaries. And this is like a translation from English, so it's kind of it sounds fucked. It's impossible. Like how can you do that? But okay, sure.
Oh yeah.
It's not technically catcalling, I guess, but it's in a way it's a objectifying a male's body, you know. And
Yeah.
I think that it kind of goes down to my reason on how does it relate to double standard. It's the perception that people kind of define women and men, you know. Like I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not condoning the fact that women get catcalled, but like objectification of men is also kind of prevalent here as well.
yeah.
And you see
yeah.
that in, you know,
Yeah, I
Hội
didn't
những
think
người
about
yêu
that.
trai Tây, I guess. Which is to me like, I know, I saw it. I kind of follow it. No, they look hot for sure. It's like,
Certainly gay.
well, yeah. Identify myself. Anyway, no, you get what I mean, right? It's like, yeah, that's kind of creepy to me. It's not bothersome for sure. Like they just kind of try to express themselves, I guess. Which is just a way to joke around, sure. Well, have you seen that?
Yeah, in terms of the comments online, I have seen a male teacher, doing a live session, just teaching, doing
Yeah.
his expertise, and all the girls down in the comments were just like, "Oh, you're so handsome! Like, please take off that shirt or
Oh,
something
did they say
like
that?
that."
That's
yeah.
so fucking obvious, though.
Yeah.
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 I'm like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
I mean, if you do that to a woman, then that would be considered
Well, yeah.
sexual assault.
I mean, you can get like jail time
Yeah.
in like some countries. Yeah, I think to me, like from being as a guy, you know, like there are some double standards that people just kind of shrug it off. You know, it's like, you know what, like they like you. That's why they say that, you know.
Yeah.
But it's okay, sure. Maybe for me, like I'm not that uncomfortable. But for some people, sure, maybe they feel like, you know, this is kind of fucked up, you know. So I think like it's not just like women in general, but also men as well, and maybe in the way that we have to behave as well in families in general. Women have to kind of do
Yeah.
the chores.
I don't think it's talked about enough because I complained that to my mom a lot of the time. Like,
Yeah.
why do I have to do that? Why can't you just ask my brothers to do that or something?
Right.
But then she's like, but you're here and like you're supposed to do that, and
Yeah.
like
They not-
eventually you will have to
Yeah.
do it. And I'm
They're not
like,
saying it directly.
Yeah.
You know, like they
Yeah.
have a way to say like, oh, I mean,
yeah, and eventually you have to like get married, and that
Yeah.
just basically becomes
Right.
your life.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not prevalent in my house, but like sometimes, sure, like I'm really lazy and I don't want to do like the chores. But like I feel bad sometimes. I'm like, oh man, I'm being lazy. Fuck now. Like my mom is doing all the work. But yeah, like if there is a chance for me to kind of, like wash the dishes, I would do it. But I also kind of, I think I have that double standard in my house
Yeah.
as well because my dad didn't really do anything.
Yeah,
During
in a
the
way,
cooking, for
in
sure.
a way you can get away with it, like you can avoid it, and then nobody would really say anything
Yeah,
about you
exactly.
being
Yeah,
lazy.
and then I'm just like, it's just like a really like
Yeah.
flow life, But then I think like what different is that I kind of feel bad.
Yeah,
You know?
that is an improvement, I think.
Well, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 1 point.
Because like for example, for me and Ling, if we don't do something, and then when there's some guests
Yeah.
come over or something, they would be like, oh, why are you not washing the
Yeah,
dishes?
especially the relatives, right?
Yeah.
Like when they come and they just like, yeah.
Yeah, but like no one said anything about my brother saying they're not doing anything. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and I have seen this in my hometown, which is in Haiphong. The woman sits in another table, not like in the drinking zone, which is basically
okay,
predominantly
the
male.
drinking zone.
The drinking zone, and I'm doing like the quotation mark here,
Yeah.
which is to me I find it really interesting. But yeah, I think like a lot of researchers kind of admits that like there are a lot of double standards happen predominantly to women rather than men. Not just here in Vietnam as well, but all around the world. There are like expectation and heavy expectation towards women.
Yeah, because like in a way, women have to take care of her work, her professional work, and then her housework, and then also the emotional
Yeah, the kids
caring
as well.
of like the whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when suddenly a man does that, then he suddenly get like the brownie point of
Well,
being
yeah,
caring.
especially like
Yeah.
single dads.
Yeah.
Like somehow like the adjectives kind of describing a single dad is like, oh, he's responsible.
Yeah.
He loves his son or daughter. He loves being a dad. He's
Yeah.
awesome. But like when a single mom comes into play, it's like, or maybe she got pregnant like early or something. It's just like
Yeah.
really negative kind of adjective to kind of describe single moms in a way, even though you don't really know the situation.
Yeah.
And especially here in Vietnam as well. Yeah, single dad is like get a hall pass. Single mom, no.
Yeah, it's like a card that they can play to get dates or something.
Well, yeah, kind of. I think some people do that, but some people, I think, like they just being a dad and that's it. But like the way people perceive, like gender in a way, male and female, is kind of different, and yeah, it kind of sucks. So how do you think like, how can we change or maybe like alter it in a way? Or do you think that double standards will always exist? But how do we improve it? That's the point.
I think that a double standard is unfair only when we feel like it's uncomfortable, only when we feel like it's unfair to us. For example, if a child is crying, the mom, the dad, or the caregivers are expected to be there to comfort the child. But whereas when the parents are crying or in distress, then it's okay for the child to not be there, or if they were there and comfort them, then they're considered very thoughtful.
Okay, so you mean like there are some double standards that maybe can benefit
Yeah,
like a
I'm
certain
not saying
relationship?
all. Yeah, not all double standards are
Right,
bad.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So maybe we can draw the line, right, between like bad shit double standards and like maybe something that can benefit.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, interesting. Because I have never, like when we talk about like double standards in general, it's kind of have like a negative connotation, right?
Yeah. We only
But when you think about it, sure, I think there are some. I can't think of one at the moment, but there might be some good double standards, I
think
guess.
those good quote unquote double standards are now considered common sense, they seem so obvious to us that it's
Okay.
just common sense.
Or maybe it becomes like a moral thing.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Because, in a way, like double standard is just a set of rules as well. So maybe like good rules and bad rules, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very different approach to think about double standard. I don't think I've ever heard anyone talking about a good double
me too.
standard. But yeah, I guess you can think about it that way because double standard kind of stem from our social norms, and that is essentially the unspoken rules in our society that we just subconsciously follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can draw the line between like where is it become a suppression and when is it become kind of a rule to keep stability in society,
Yeah.
so that we don't go like chaos and do whatever we like without any moral guidelines. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
It's another way to look at like double standards, and I think it's also very interesting. But why do you think that double standard exists, though? Not just because of like societal roles or like the perception of people. You know.
I think it's like a cycle of people just subconsciously following what's been told and what they've seen around them. And because we live in the system, so it's convenient to like just follow that and avoid the judgment and like fulfill the expectation that people give on us.
Yeah, or maybe they just get used to it. And especially in the countryside as well. You see these kind of roles being defined not just by men but also by women themselves. Like they are the one who have to take care of the family, I guess. Some people use double standards, I think, in a way to kind of goes along with what they want to be right, which is the confirmation bias kind of theory. Like when you kind of look at a certain info in order for it to concrete your own ideology or your agenda. So maybe sometimes, double standard can be used not just like an insult, but as a weapon as well, maybe towards like a minority or gender, Overall, sure. I think like double standards stems from, like how the society kind of shaped the way that we think and also the way that we perceive a certain gender and also race as well. But what we can do now, and I think like from what we have discussed before, and I think it's also an interesting way to look at it, is that there are also some double standards that can, in a way, improve either in a certain relationship or just the way that you live. Again, like I'm not condoning the fact that double standards can sometimes hurt people. It just maybe you can draw the line, between like what can be like a really shitty one and what can be beneficial, to your own life.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Going back to the daily activities, Thương, do you get catcalled a lot on the streets? Mày mày đang làm cái...
nói lại xin lỗi. Phủi phủi. Phủi phủi.